A teacher must be a lifelong learner, not just a teacher. A lamp can never light another lamp. A lamp can never light another lamp until it continues to burn its own flame. The emphasis is on passion for the profession. How many of us have the passion for the teaching profession? Not any. Maybe if I ask, how many will you join the teaching profession? Hardly one or two will come forward. If it is otherwise, I will be very happy. But that should not be the case, because we are having a paucity of qualified teachers, particularly in technical and other professional programs. And no bright person, unlike the earlier days, is accepting teaching as a profession for reasons known only to him. We are aware that knowledge is growing exponentially world over, making continuous technological advancements, resulting in mass-scale technology obsolescence, imposing tremendous agenda for the faculty for his own development over a significantly short time frame. Other day I was discussing with some other teachers. One of them was a principal in an Orissa engineering college who worked for a few years in the United States and then came back and started an engineering college because of the passion and his love for the country and so on and so forth. Then a question was asked to him by others whether in the present day scenario, when IT industries and others are paying treble salaries for our young boys, will they ever be attracted to the teaching profession? Will they ever come back to the teaching profession and help with their experience in industry? Because we expect, particularly in technological institutions, a teacher must have also some experience of having served in the industry. He said yes and no. No for the first few years. Yes when he has one car and one house. The first aim is to have a good wife and a car and a house. After a few years, he starts realizing what I am doing is not worth it. Then, if you approach him and give him the necessary incentives, will come back. This is the experience of a person who has retired and was set up an engineering college, faced many hurdles, and is not regretting what he has done. I think that is the case. In most of the cases that may be true, because many of these people will be burnt out in a short age as 40 or 45. They may not be able to work any further, except probably mastering more, few lakhs of rupees. Faculty in isolation cannot. The emphasis on passion for the profession. We are aware that knowledge is growing exponentially world over, making continuous technological advancements, resulting in mass-scale technology obsolescence, and posing tremendous agenda for the faculty for his own development for a significantly short time frame. Faculty in isolation cannot fulfill this mission unless it is supported by the students. Students also must participate in the so-called teaching-learning process. Faculty can only be a facilitator and may trigger interest in the students, and otherwise, unlike the earlier days, it should not be a monologue, where the teacher just dictates notes and student notes down. It must be a dialogue between the teacher and the taught, and teacher initiating and being the person who drives the whole activity, and students being actively participating. Such situation must emerge if the quality of education we impart in our institution is to certainly improve. In fact, students should realize their responsibility to the parents, to the society, and to the nation, and accordingly take their stay at the institute as exclusive tenure for being a well-groomed global resource person. What are the traits to be a global engineer? This has to be learned from each one of you, because each one of you will have opportunities coming your way to be employed in any part of the world, provided you are good. Because that is, the whole world has become a village because the advances in computers, internet, and so on and so forth. And Indians in particular have an edge because of our capacity, our capabilities in the English language, which of course if you are not good, you must try to improve. And that's why many of us speak to the student. We say, first 2 years, you must concentrate on improving your soft skills, interpersonal relationships, even inter-communication skills, and so on and so forth. International exposure is an asset and cannot be denied for making Indian human resource as a global resource. It is a rich experience to travel, interact with technologies, industries from other parts of the world. I think that's what you are doing by bringing people from all over, addressing them. And this must be a continuous exercise. Every month, 2-3 persons from different universities, from different parts of the world. Because the whole world is a village. And they must come here, speak to you, and you try to understand what is happening there. Because today, we are in India also, we are living and at a time when we have a level playing field. It was not there earlier. Because the advances in computers and internet, today any young student in one of the laboratories here can do the same thing that can be done in the best of the labs in any part of the world. So there is a level playing field which has been created. All the time we have been complaining, we are having no resources, our infrastructure is bad, and therefore how can the standards of our publications can be as high? It is no longer true. A level playing field has been created because of the internet in particular and the advances in computers, and you can do anything, or even in matter of research, what can be done in best of the laboratories elsewhere. While doing so, we should not, of course, you can interact with others from the different parts of the world. That does not mean you can neglect our own people. While doing so, we should not lose sight of our responsibility to our own people. Look outside, in the world outside, villages outside. There are still nearly 30% of our people are below the poverty line for reasons not created by themselves, for whatever reasons. And we have certain responsibility to them. Those of you who are leaving the portals of this university, don't think of yourselves, your family, your country, your alma mater, but also think of those fellow Indians who are placed very backward and not having 2 square meals a day and so on and so forth. Have some concern for them. Our education system in higher education institutions should empower youth to be confident in addressing issues of national development and be engaged to find solutions that can make a difference to the living standards of billions of underprivileged. Billions of people in this country are underprivileged. On one side we say the country is shining, India is shining. On the other side you find people do not have 2 square meals a day, no shelter, no health care, and so on and so forth. And such a situation does not probably exist anywhere else, or maybe in a few places outside. Things are changing, but we must accelerate the process of change so that we do not have the big gap between the haves and have-nots as far as India is concerned. It is a cliche to say that higher education in India is at crossroads. All of us speak about Indian higher education is at crossroads. But this hackneyed and overused phrase still contains an element of truth. We have reached a point when the need for bringing about some radical changes in higher education can no longer be ignored. The excellent quality of the best students of our universities and colleges are well recognized and accepted at home and abroad. We speak of quite a few people who go abroad and do well. But then there are others here who are not doing well. What's the reason? We must worry ourselves, particularly institutions. Indian students who go for postgraduate studies to foreign universities have done extremely well. Most universities abroad have Indians in a fairly large number on their faculty, and many of them have earned international recognition and reputation. But the quality of our best students is not in doubt. Well, the quality of our best students is not in doubt. It is the average which is causing discomfort, and their numbers are very large. The system of higher education as it operates now in India has raised many concerns, which include deterioration in quality, resource crunch, and the consequent poor infrastructure. Serious problems of governance have been caused by the quantitative expansion in the present system of educational administration. The importance of higher education in building the nation is beyond doubt. The agricultural, industrial, and scientific growth of this century depends on creating a corpus of well-trained professionals in a variety of academic disciplines. This can happen only with good quality higher education. We need not, however, belittle what we have achieved. There is a crying need to strengthen higher education in terms of quality and effectiveness. In the context of the growing population, some quantitative expansion in higher education is inevitable. Because population is increasing, naturally the people enrolled in the colleges also will increase. However, the emphasis has to be on quality of higher education. We need to have a network of colleges where state-of-art knowledge is imparted, and where there is a high degree of commitment on the part of teachers and students. If need be, we should amend laws and procedures to create such institutions. In the pursuit of quality, there should not be, in the pursuit of quantity, there should not be sacrificing quality. The global context makes it even more imperative. It means high quality has to be maintained. SRM is a young university having departments in almost all branches of science, technology, medicine, and so on. The university, my humble suggestion is they consider establishing interdisciplinary teams. Maybe they have done it in some of the emerging areas of research, such as nanoscience and technology, genetic engineering, biotechnology, etc. A lot of emphasis has been given. This will not only lead to training of new generation of students in the upcoming and emerging areas of technology, but also lead to the generation of valuable intellectual property to the country. The university may also consider the possibility of establishing a technology business incubator. Maybe they have that by the Department of Science. Considering the high level of innovation in this part of the country and the need to nurture high technology industries in the country. My dear young friends, my advice to you would be that whatever career you choose, look beyond the narrow confines of your discipline, embrace changes, and be innovative, and always be resourceful. Humility, hard work, sincerity, and above all, developing a broader social vision to contribute to the social uplift should be your lookout. Here let me quote Sir Arthur Clarke. I quote him, "The present civilization is nothing but the sum of the dreams of our forefathers. So it must always be, but if we stop dreaming, our civilization will come to an end." So as our respected President Abdul Kalam also says, learn to dream,